Okay, so I just wanted to do this video, continue it because I kind of got cut off.
Are responsible for the failure of the black community. They are the ones that push white supremacy. Now, Dr. Umar Johnson responds in
I don't feel I don't feel like it's as much as white supremacy that she pushes as much as she pushes black inferiority. But I guess you could say they're both the same. So, okay, maybe I can agree with you on that, O'Shea Duke Jackson. Go ahead.
In a sort of, I won't say a rant, but basically defending black men upon those allegations that Cynthia G has laid out. Let me go ahead and play that, and then I'll come back and discuss.
So let's find out. Dr. Umar, what have black men done?
Well, number one, again, I think that it is such a shame, coming from a psychological perspective, that we seek to heal our wounds as a people by relying on unprofessional testimony by individuals who have a vendetta against the opposite gender in their community. When you hear Sister Cynthia speak, you can hear a hurt and a pain and a hatred towards black men. We cannot find an effective solution to black male-female relationship issues or the oppression of black men or black women when the people at the table having the conversation have emotional, and pathological interest in the conversation that are not.
The question whether.
I know, she had to interject, but I really do agree with that, because when someone is bitter and into their feelings like that, and we know her perspective and where she's coming from negative experiences with black men, therefore internalizing all her experiences with black men and putting that all on black men in general, because she has her issues with black men in the past, and people have talked about it for a while, so it's obvious why she's bitter, so I would agree with that. I do think, as someone who is not interested in relationships personally between black men and black women, that it shouldn't be mandatory. More so, the interests of the black race should be about success individually rather than thinking about it as far as a family, because we don't have to be partners and we don't have to be family to care about each other. I think people always think you have to be having sex with black women or black men to care. I don't feel that's real. I feel like that is a selfish reason to be caring about black men or black women. It's not a real reason. Anyway, continue.
About my emotional state. The question was, what did black men do in response to their disenfranchisement? Yeah, because you're trying to pathologize my emotional state. I know that I'm a psychologist too. But what you're not doing is telling us what black men do. I believe he'll get there, Dr. Umar. Dr. Umar?
And I'll end it quickly, Sister Tammy. According to Mrs. Cynthia G., Dr. King was assassinated because he was doing nothing. Malcolm X was assassinated because he was doing nothing. Medgar Evers was assassinated because he was doing nothing. Fred Hampton was assassinated because he was doing nothing. That narrative that black men have done nothing to fight back against systemic oppression, not only against ourselves, but against our women, our children, our elders, and our community, is absolutely ridiculous. The cemetery is filled with black men, names we know and names we don't know, who gave their life for the freedom, liberation, and emancipation of African people. How can you disrespect the history of so many black men, past and present, who continue to fight? I'm sitting in a school right now that we built with all black money, 4 buildings that we're going to educate black men in. It's not easy to solve our problems because there's always black people in your very same community who's fighting against what you're trying to do to help it, but But in addition to that, the white power structure is always waving its.
And that's the thing. You really mean to tell me you think that black men are the only men and the only people who have fought for civil rights? So you mean to tell me black men are only 6% of the population as a whole, 12% of the male population. So you mean to tell me that you think that they alone stood up and said, we're not going to take it anymore? How did you do that? Yeah, any way that you talk about doing it, it's because other people fought for you and other people gave you rights. So I mean, and that isn't anything against black men. See, what will happen is this. Cynthia G will use the fact that black men are a minority against them and say, oh, they're weak because they need to have other men help them give them rights. It's not other men even. It's other people. But she will always try and use other men, like she'll say white men. But it's not. It's specifically other people, because black men and black women are only 13% of the population. So as far as politicians, they're not the majority. There's black men, black women are not the majority of our legislative branch, our executive branch, our judicial branch. They're not, and the voting population is definitely not majority black. So when he talks about blaming white people for this, it's nonsensical, because the majority of people that have paved the way for black people were white people. Literally, if white people wanted black people to be slaves today, they would be. Literally, it would just happen. If all white people wanted slavery, if all white people wanted civil rights movement basically eradicated and going back to Jim Crow days, it would happen. Voters could back up the politicians on this, honestly, because we have a white majority for our voting population, and we have a white majority in our executive branch, a white majority in our judicial branch, a white majority in the legislative branch. So if it's really white people that are holding you down, you definitely would still be a slave right now. You would at least still be in Jim Crow days right now, okay? So you can't blame white people for that. That's my perspective on that. But I do agree with what he was saying about Cynthia G. And, trying to have a dialect is going to be problematic, because in those situations, how do you have a dialect with someone who clearly hates you? That's not really right. And like I said, I don't see what I just described as something negative against black men. They're a minority, Black women are a minority. Does that make them weak? Does that mean they're insignificant? No. It just means we have smaller numbers than other races in this country. We're the third largest ethnic background in the country. So we are way down the line. We're not even the second largest minority anymore. So anyway, continue.
Oppression to try to sabotage anything we do. I think that the analysis of our women is too overly simplistic, and in being such, it is dishonest.
All right. So listening to Dr. Umar Johnson, he lays out, and I won't even deal with the fact that he said that, she's emotionally hurt and all of that, because that's not really in the argument, but he's pretty much...
It is in the argument, because it's hard to have a dialogue with her, if she is communicating in a way where it's only from a place of hurt. She's not actually wanting to figure things out, basically, as far as coming to the table and talking about things. She's not going to want to do that. She's going to be combative. Continue.
Trying to say it's pointless to have conversations with somebody like Cynthia G, and I'll agree. But let's go to the point in which I believe he established the fact that African American men, black men, fought for the right for Cynthia G to even be where she is today. That's something that we can never take away from is today. That's something that we can never take away from black men. And let me also say this. We can never take that away from black women. I am here today as a black American, African American, ADOS, FBA, if you want to consider that. What I do right now is because of those black men and women that came before me, period. Everything that I have, I owe to them. And for me to be able to say that black women or black men didn't do what they did for me is absurd, okay? That's the whole point. And that is what he's getting at. You have black men that are dead. Those people that we don't know. Do you know how many people that marched with Dr. King? He mentioned Malcolm X.
Well, if you're talking about death, like I said before, there's been black people, black men and black women who died for equal rights in the civil rights movement, but there have also been white men and white women who have died for the same cause. Throughout our history, we've seen with lynching, they would show that there were black people who were lynched, but there were also white people who were lynched for the same reason. So, I mean, like, you could say that actually it's been people of both races, basically, that have fought and died for, civil rights of black people. Also, I mean, like, if we think of it in another regard, too, but I'm not going to talk about that. We're talking about civil rights here. Continue.
A lot of black people in the black community, especially those who came in the Great Migration. What about the Deacon Leonards in the black community? The Deacon Robinsons, people like that at the local churches that talk to young black men like myself, that told me that I need to go out and be a man. I need to do things for myself. That would take out young boys and teach you how to cut grass. Those black men that taught young black men boxing, that came in and stepped in the black community when there was no father in the home, or, the father got killed or something like that. Same thing with black women. Like, we got to stop discounting the fact that people helped us to where we are at. And when you come with that kind of hatred that the Sister Cynthia G is coming with, you can't have positive discussions. See, the thing about me is I understand it.
That's right. I agree with all that you're saying there. You can't have positive discussions in these situations. Because she's all into the gender war. And when they believe in the gender war, all they believe in is fighting and arguing. That's their way, and their mean of communication is fighting black men. And it's not just them. There's male versions of them too. All black men like Cynthia G know how to do is basically fight and argue with black women. Because, like I said, it's coming from a place of hurt and some problem that they're having. It all comes down to, I think, for those type of people, is they want the right black woman or the right black man, and it's not working out, so then they take it out on everyone of the opposite sex for that reason or something. Something's going on there. I don't understand it personally because that's not been my experience, but, it's amusing to watch sometimes, and other times it's just really cringeworthy. Anyway,
there
continue.
is black female entitlement. I understand that black women some of them have a problem and don't understand what's going on, but how can I ever discount black women that looked out for me? Black women that gave me encouraging words. Like, I want to give a shout out to Mother Barrow at my church, that inspired me to want to go ahead and go to professional school. Black women that, when I wanted to be a pharmacist, black women that came and talked to me, that wrote me letters of recommendation to black women that came and talked to me, that wrote me letters of recommendation to do things. I could never talk down on those kind of women because they helped me to get to where I'm at. How dare I speak against everybody in the black community, all black women like that? There's certain pockets of sisters I'm always come for. But those people, absolutely not. I have what I have, and you guys have what you have because of the black men and black women that were in our community that fought for us. That gave us the opportunities that we didn't have. The black people from Pritchard, Alabama, and Mobile, Alabama, and the folks came from Mississippi and that came up to Chicago and came up to Detroit that was looking for a better life. Those are the people that we owe everything to. And to talk down on them as if they didn't do anything, and as if they don't have anything, is dishonest. Because we're just playing a blame game. And really what it is that you cannot have discussions with people who hate black people, who hate black men, who hate black women. You can't talk to those people because she is hurt. That's the situation. And a lot of other women that listen to her, they are hurt. I might be in...
They admit they're hurt, and then they expect someone to treat what they're saying as something that we should take seriously. How can we take you seriously when they literally admit they're hurt? They do. I remember I did a video on this a while ago, but they literally admit they are hurt.
In the manosphere, but the one thing I'm never going to do is talk down on black women who have done something. The Ida B. Wells, people like that, the Mary McLeod Bethunes. Never. How could I ever say that? Never. I'd be a fool. The Rosa Parks. Never. I remember when brothers was coming for Harriet Tubman being on the $20 bill in 2017, I lit a fire in the black manosphere. I said, how dare you talk about Harriet Tubman? How dare you even fix your mouth speaking on Harriet Tubman? What's wrong with you? Don't you ever speak on Harriet Tubman. How dare you talk about her? How dare you? And Dr. Umar Johnson is right. How dare she? And again, you talk like this and you expect that somebody in the black community is going to want to listen to you with that kind of vitriol. If that was a man saying what she's saying about black women, y'all would have a fit in the way that she's saying it. And even if some of the things she's saying is true, I'm gonna deal with how they say it. Is it how you say things for certain people? Are you saying it with certain kind of love that you want people to receive it? Nope. That's exactly what they said about black men. Oh, it's how Kevin Samuels said it. Okay. Listen to Cynthia G. But guys, what do you say? What do you think? It's your boy.
Yeah, I would say overall, I kind of do side more with Umar Johnson with this small dialogue that I saw. I'm interested in watching the whole thing now. I never watched the whole thing before. I've never really heard from Umar Johnson before, but I figure he's kind of weird because I've watched I've watched like clips of him before, and I'm not really into the whole pro-blackness thing, well, I mean, like, I'm not into the pro-black rhetoric because they tell you have to live your life. When I think, why can't we be pro-black people doing their own thing, kind of thing. But yeah, like with this conversation here, I definitely do agree with what they're saying about Cynthia G, because she doesn't come from a place of logic. She comes from a place of hurt and emotions. Basically, a very emotional, hurt individual. And everything is skewed around that and trying to get attention from black men and trying to put them down so then they can react to her. It's all for her to get some reaction from them, basically. It's interesting to see sometimes when people actually recognize who and what she is, and I always think, how come she doesn't realize it backfires in her face when she openly is hurt and everyone knows it and she's operating from that space? I mean, can't you do something about it? But it doesn't seem she can. So that's all I'm going to say in this video. Thanks for watching, everyone. Like and subscribe and comment down below. Have a great day. Bye.